Welcome, listeners. You're listening to Deeds in the Desert, the place where real estate investors tune in for the latest news and available investments at Ignite Funding. If you're on the hunt for a low-effort, passive income stream, then turn up that volume and pull out the hammock as we get ready to feed you your weekly dose of real estate investing insights.
Welcome back to another episode of Deeds in the Desert, an investing podcast by Ignite Funding. Today we have two guests in our studio. We have Misty and Andrew, and today we are going to be talking about how you send your funds matters. Welcome, guys.
Misty, they let us out of the box. Usually speaking, you don't talk to the compliance or the controller. Typically, we're back of house. But it's kind of exciting that we get to experience what the front of the house does for a change.
I know if they're talking to us, somebody's usually in trouble, right?
Yes, exactly. We're always there to help, though. So let's just dive straight into it.
So my first question is, how can I transfer cash to fund my investments? I know there's multiple different ways. Can you explain those, Andrew?
Correct. So you can transfer funds to us via wire. That's our preferred method because it helps you get fundings as soon as possible. The other way you can do it is you can stop at one of the Bank of America locations and drop off a check. If you have a cashier's check, keep in mind, we consider cashier's checks funds good day of. Another way we can accept funds is if you mail us a check or stop into our office. I would be hesitant to have you guys drop off a check because things do get lost. Or I'd be hesitant to have you guys mail us because, as you guys know, around Christmas season, it isn't just your check in the mail. It's everyone else's postage. So you might get a couple week delay on that loan just because the post office takes a long time to deliver.
And for goodness sakes, please never, ever mail a cashier's check to us. We actually had a client do that one time, and it was lost in the mail. And a horror story is that it takes about 6 months, I believe, for the bank to reissue those funds to the investor.
Another reason why wire is best.
Okay, so my next question is, why does speed matter when sending funds in?
Well, I'll start there.
Sure.
So the quicker we get your funds, the quicker you can potentially go on a loan, and we can stop harassing you with those wonderful courtesy, urgent, and final reminder notifications.
I look at it as a two-side fold. We want the money as fast as possible for the borrower. Sometimes if we don't get those funds in, we have to delay our funding of the loan. And so we need to get those funds in so they can start making capital for all the investors involved. It's a team effort on these loans. We don't go on these loans solo. We go on them as a team. And so we also have to look at it is the faster they get us in those funds, then the faster they can make interest. I generally like to tell all the salespeople that if a wire is for $100,000, it's in their best interest to pay that wire fee because the daily interest on that is much higher they're losing out on than that $30 wire fee than sending a check by mail, mailing it to us, or stopping at one of our Bank of America locations to drop off a check. Typically, we hold those checks for about 4 business days, and instead of a wire, they can make funds day of.
That's right. And I know a lot of investors like to keep funds in their account as long as possible. And you'll see on our fact sheets we have an anticipated funding date, but sometimes we can fund loans earlier than that, and you don't want to cut it too close. So I pulled some numbers before we got on this, and if you pull it too close and we're funding, let's say, on a Friday, but your funds don't clear until the following business day, now you have to wait for the assignment to open up, and that you've missed the weekend. The assignment likely doesn't open up till the next business day. Then we have to send out additional documents that you have to sign. You'll have to do those. So it's realistic. If everything is going according to plan, you would miss out on at least 5 days of interest in that scenario. On a simple $10,000 investment, that would be $14 lost in interest if the stars align and you get on that loan as quickly as possible after it funds.
You bring up a great point. I think that a lot of people don't realize in the state of Nevada, we're blessed with a fast turnaround processing so we can start assigning them in. What is some worst case situations you see in states like, let's say, Illinois or Florida? How long it takes them to reopen those loans?
I mean, it depends on the jurisdiction in which it's recorded. And so there are times when it might be up to a week before we have a recorded deed. So let me explain. Before we can open a loan up for assignment, we have to have verification that the original loan is funded. And that is provided through the recorded deed of trust. And so in those slower jurisdictions, a week, I've seen it as long as 2.
Oh, geez. So it could be 3 to 4 weeks until they get on the loan, not due to our fault, but due to the jurisdiction of those.
That's right, because we can't open up the assignment queue. That means we can't send out the additional documents that are required to have the investors even sign.
Oh, man. So them holding on to 1 or 2 extra days of sending out that wire just cost them 3 weeks possibly of interest.
Right.
Okay, so my next question is, how exactly does Ignite Funding keep track of all of the wires that are coming in from investors?
It starts off first with our investors. We need you to write down the memo fields, have descriptions of the account number if you can put it on there. And luckily, a lot of your information is ready for your wires. You're usually going to use your personal account that has your name on there too. But we always recommend to have it in 2 spots. It is also helpful you put your account number. Some of our investors have multiple accounts, and so it takes us a little bit more time to research which account. For example, today we had one gentleman who had a joint account with his wife and another personal account with himself. He had 2 pledges out there, each for $20,000 each. We had to personally reach out to him to see which pledge that wire was for. So it's definitely helpful to give as much information as you can on the check or on the wire.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I know we haven't mentioned self-directed IRAs yet on this episode, but if I have one, how do the funds get to Ignite Funding?
So investors typically have a choice when they are signing their direction of investment forms for the custodian. And that choice is to have a check sent to Ignite Funding or a wire sent. And again, like any time you send a wire, there's usually fees involved with sending that wire. Even so, we still highly recommend you choose the wire option, because otherwise there is at least the delay of the mail, which is typically a week.
We are currently looking at a new way of processing. And so the next 3 months to 4 months, please keep tuned into that. We're thinking that we're going to find a way to not offer wires, but have faster processing for us.
Ooh, exciting.
I can't wait. We'll see what's coming down the road time December comes.
Wow. Oh, Christmas present for the investors.
All right, well, I think that is it for how to send your funds to Ignite Funding. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
And to our listeners, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on Deeds in the Desert, where short-term investments meet long-term investors. We hope you enjoyed the content so much that you share it with all your friends. Who doesn't like learning about passive fixed income, right? Still hungry for more education? Visit our website at ignitefunding.com. Or if you're ready to take the leap and start investing, give us a call at 702-761-0000 and schedule a free investor consultation.